Piedmont City Council, June 4th, 2025 to order. Citizens' remarks. Joe, anything over? Rick?
Yeah, I'd like to, if I could. Since we're recording, how about I'll get in front of them rather than just a voice in the back of the room or whatever. Anyway, I don't know how I can do this without putting my back to you
Come back,
guys.
you come back here.
So, as I'm unable to attend the next Piedmont City Council meeting, I wanted to take a moment to reflect on the council and its members as this term nears its end. I may not be the most polished speaker, but I've been deeply inspired by a speech from former President Theodore Roosevelt, a man who in some ways became an accidental president, yet ranks among our nation's greatest leaders. On April 23rd, 1910, Roosevelt delivered his Citizenship in a Republic speech at the Sorbonne in France, Paris, France, to an audience of academics, students, and French dignitaries. This nearly hour-long address, part of a University of Paris lecture series, was given during his post-presidential European tour. In the words resonated rather powerfully with the spirit of public service we see in Piedmont City Council with me. To honor our council members and all who volunteer in public service, I'd like to share a few excerpts from this speech. You don't get the whole hour's worth. Passages that I believe capture the essence of civic duty and leadership that define the work here. And I regret the fact that Bev's not here. We'll have to leave her a copy of this. How's that?
Okay.
I'd also ask that you mentally update some of the terminology that Roosevelt used to include both men and women throughout, even though mostly he uses the term men. The title of the speech was, as I said, Citizenship in a Republic. And remember, too, that he was speaking in France. So here we go. With you here and with us in my own home, in the long run, success or failure will be conditioned upon the way in which the average man, the average woman, does his or her duty, first with the ordinary, everyday affairs of life, and next in those great occasional cries which call for heroic virtues. The average citizen must be a good citizen if our republics are to succeed. The stream will not permanently rise higher than the main source, and the main source of national power and national greatness is found in the average citizenship of the nation. Therefore, it behooves us to do our best to see that the standard of the average citizen is kept high, and the average cannot be kept high unless the standard of the leaders is very much higher. It is well if a large portion of the leaders in any republic, in any democracy, are, as a matter of course, drawn from the classes represented in this audience today, but only provided that those classes possess the gifts of sympathy with plain people and of devotion to great ideals. You and those like you have received special advantages. All of you had the opportunity for mental training. Many of you have had leisure. Most of you have had a chance for enjoyment of life far greater than comes to the majority of your fellows. To you and to your kind, much has been given, and from you much should be expected. The poorest way to face life is to face it with a sneer. There are many men who feel a kind of twisted pride and cynicism. There are many who confine themselves to criticism of the way others do what they themselves dare not even attempt. There is no more unhealthy being, no man less worthy of respect than he who either really holds or feigns to hold an attitude of sneering disbelief toward all that is great and lofty, whether in achievement or in that noble effort, which, even if it fails, comes to second achievement. A cynical habit of thought and speech, a readiness to criticize work which the critic himself never tries to perform, an intellectual aloofness which will not accept contact with life's realities, all these are marks, not as the possessor would feign to think, of superiority, but of weakness. And then this next part, some of you may have heard this before. It's known colloquially as the man in the arena. This is just one paragraph. It's not the critic who counts, not the man who points out how the strong man stumbles or where the doer of deeds could have done them better. The credit belongs to the man who is actually in the arena, whose face is marred by dust and sweat and blood, who strives valiantly, who errs, who comes short again and again. Because there is no effort without error and shortcoming. But who does actually strive to do the deeds? Who knows great enthusiasms, the great devotions? Who spends himself in a worthy cause? Who, at the best, knows in the end the triumph of high achievement? And who, at the worst, if he fails, at least fails while daring greatly? So that his place shall never be with those cold and timid souls who neither know victory nor defeat. And with that, I want to thank those members of the City Council that have spent the last couple of years doing this. Some of you will be coming back. Some of you have probably said, I'm glad to see you again. But thank you for what you've done.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you, Rick.
Danny?
I don't have anything.
There's no comment? Did everybody get a chance to read the minutes from the last meeting?
I'll make a motion we accept the minutes from the last meeting as presented.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The minutes will be accepted as written. Correspondence? I have none. Anybody have any today? Okay, reports. Greg, we'll get you first today. Get you out of the way.
All right, first of all, on the sewer, the guy spent 2 days repairing. It's actually one of our lines, a lateral down on West Hampshire Street. It had been repaired with 2 patches. We took them both out and put one solid piece of pipe in, so they've done well with that. Again, what makes this tough, the newest sewer map's in 1965. So this is a lot of hunt and peck trying to find this stuff. The guy did a heck of a job. We have no update on the long-term control plan. The DEP has not sent me the sample of one that actually is considered good. Far as water, today we had the federal EPA in from Cincinnati and Philadelphia. They are doing what's called sentinel testing. We had 5 volunteers, Paul being one, Joe and Krista. These are people that had slightly higher lead levels. They are going to take that information and set a benchmark. And then once the wells are up and running, we'll be back, run the same test just to see what kind of effect the groundwater is going to have on any lead level. So good to report. They told me everyone's did the test correctly. They've already been shipped out. So got that done. We will be doing our normal compliance testing with the 20 houses. I will get bottles out on Monday, have them back on Tuesday, and I'm going to take them to Morgantown myself Wednesday. Follow up on the last report. We dropped the basins on Monday. The guys did a wonderful job. Completely hosed out the basins. They were clean. They also had the vac truck up, sucked all the inlet troughs out, did a wonderful job. We do have an issue, we believe, at the mill. We are currently investigating. We're not getting the water flow to the plant that we normally get. There's water coming out of the ground up at the mill. It appears it could come from our old line. So what we're trying to do is chase down our old bypass line. We think water might be entering the bypass and recharging our old line and coming out of the ground. We got about 150 gallon difference in what the meter says we're getting and what we're actually getting. So we're going to take the guys up tomorrow. We have the pump house that's up the mill, overgrown by 15-foot bamboo. We're going to go up and we're going to enter into it and find the bypass. If it's leaking, we're going to cap it off and see if that solves the problem. we had a collaborative effort with Westernport. When we shut our water line off at the vault, the pressure slowly dropped, so water was going somewhere. When they shut the main line off up on 135, all the water coming out of the ground stopped. So we're slowly working our way through the steps to isolate where the issue is, and hopefully tomorrow we can pinpoint it and see what we have to do to take care of it. Today we also had our pre-bid meeting for the well project and the tank project. Thrasher told me, don't expect 4 or 5 people. It's not a mandatory meeting. We normally don't get much attendance. There was 18 people here that showed up. So we have toured them around where the tank's going, where the well's going. We've talked to them. I talked to one group about an emergency well. He's picked out some spots where he believes would be a good place to put it. So we will continue to work on funding for that. The bid openings will be June 25th, and they'll take them a couple of days to go over them and award the project. They told them it does not necessarily go to the lowest bidder. It goes to the lowest responsible and reliable bidder. And we had people from Pennsylvania, downstate, West Virginia, plus some local outfits in. So we was tickled to see that turnout. As far as the pool, the water's full. We are currently treating it. We're going to get a sample 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. I'm going to run it to Moorfield. The potential opening date will be Sunday at noon. Everything else is done, except a couple minor contract patching, and we're going to take care of them between now and Sunday. So that's where we're at with it. And since you're not going to be here at the next meeting, if I understood you correctly, Rick, I would like to personally thank you. Piedmont is not where it's at today without you. And my deep gratitude is out to you. We cannot thank you enough. I can't.
Yeah, me too. None of us can, Rick.
That's your water and sewer report.
Is that all? Sarah?
Okay, I'll give you the financial report. Majority of it hasn't changed from the last meeting. General fund, we have available balance $3,591.47. The water account, $3,228.47. The sewer account, $1,474.48. Parks and Rec stands at $4,782.82. Swimming pool account is up a little bit, $5,997.38. The 941 account's the same as it was 2 weeks ago, the same with the fire department grant. Security deposits, coal severance, Pearl Street repairs. The excess levy stands at $1,642.06. Water improvement project is the same. The water CWCR account stands at $6,737.95. The CWCR sewer account stands at $5,199.61. The GoPay available balance $768.39. The renewal and replacement account stands at $2,800.05. DWTRF account's the same, police account's the same, opioid account's the same, and the depreciation and water sewer account came up 2 cents from the last report.
Wanda?
Just enjoying this beautiful music. Okay. I'll go ahead and cover parks too, since Bev's not here. Potomac Edison has been contacted about shutting the electric off back at the breaker box due to vandalism. I don't have any verification yet that it's been off, but it's been requested. So it should be done pretty soon. Somebody did attempt to gain entrance to the restrooms back there by kicking the door in. So you got a picture of that. Pass it around for anybody that's interested in looking at it. It didn't make it all the way in, but you know, there again, we've got damage to city property from vandalism.
When the power's off, will they still have the camera on? When the power goes off, you still have the
Yeah,
camera?
but when it's dark,
Oh, but I mean, there's still gonna be a, maybe you can see something.
if they could get them in the daytime, we'd have them, but the cameras don't cover it.
Yeah, the power for the cameras in the salt building back there, simply.
Yeah, the pavilion didn't power the cameras. I'm sorry, I didn't understand. And that was really about it. I know I saw they got the park cut today, so it looks good again. But that's all I had on that one. For the streets, I think Hampshire Street is probably the biggest thing. They have been working on it for, well, starting at the beginning of this week. They started on 6/2. And what they decided to use was the fiber reinforced foam. They're drilling rebar down into the streets, pounding that in. And my explanation from the men that were doing the work today is they blow that foam back in. It creeps into all the cracks and crevices, and then it hardens like concrete. So they had a $20,000 budget for the foam, and they've already used that. So basically it goes from the east end of where the washout started, about halfway down. Well, these folks are contracted by WVDOH. It's not anything that the town brought in. So they're hoping that more money will come in so they can get money to complete the rest of it. So it would actually be that whole section there where the guardrail is.
Did that section get done where the guardrail is?
I'm sorry, what?
Did the section at the guardrail get done?
The upper section, yeah, there's about half of it, but where it was deepest and really rinsed out underneath, they're working on that today. So they'll be back next week. They're hoping to be done what they can do at the end of next week. We'll send out another IVR Friday evening to let people know not to park there, find other parking areas. We would like to thank everybody that's been compliant with that. We haven't had any trouble at all. So it's enabled them to work a little easier. It's enabled us to keep Route 46 open with at least one-way traffic on that. So it's all worked out well. As far as the guys, you know, what they've done, you heard Greg, they've pretty much been tied up with sewer lines or whatever, but they have managed to get some storm drains, the pool work, weed eating, some of that stuff. So as we fix or Band-Aid, whatever, some of the smaller stuff, then they'll be back into grass mowing and weed eating. And this is just kind of an aside thing for you guys to think about. It'll probably be on the agenda the next time. Looking through the charter, thankfully there's not a whole ton of a lot of things that need fixed. They might need tightened up a little bit, modified, modernized somewhat. It's not huge, but one thing I noticed that we don't have is a health commissioner. So I got in contact with Sue Wells, who's Senior Director of Clinic Operations at Potomac Valley, and asked her if it would be feasible for us to ask Lois Hartman, who's our local clinician, to fill that position. Sue said that she didn't think there would be an issue with it, but I'm still waiting to hear back from her. I did speak with Lois last week, and she would be willing to do that. So if that goes through, WVU gives the nod, then we can appoint her as health commissioner. Or put it up for vote anyway. That's all.
Oh, just one comment, I don't know, with you guys up on the hill, Monday, it must have been around 1 or 1:30. I was coming back from the eye doctor in Morgantown. The intersection in Westernport, I just happened to see one sheriff's car came across the bridge. 10 seconds later, the second one came across the bridge. They went up on our hill, came down Dundee Street, came down West Fairview Street. So I'm hoping that they were around just checking things out. I didn't see there was no lights on or anything. They just took their good old time. at least they were up on that end of the hill.
They
looking
were
at
supposed to give us a rotation.
two of them, 2 cars.
It'd be nice if they started a rotation. Paul?
I don't have a whole lot until we get down here, to talk about new business. But, I do want to second what Greg said about Rick. Thank you, Rick, for all you've done. You've been tremendous. And I want to go a step further than that. I want to thank Paul. Did you see the last meeting?
No, next one.
Okay, well, I'm gonna be early. I want to thank Paula. I've worked with Bill Hood, Mickey Rocco, Bob Hamilton. I didn't work with Skip. Ben Smith, and now Paula. And I think Paul has done a fantastic job as mayor, and I just wanted to say that. I wanted to say it in the last meeting, but I'm saying at this meeting. It's not easy, it's a tremendous headache, and sometimes you think it's thankless. But you've done a tremendous job, and I just wanted to pass that on to you. That's all I have until we get down here to new business.
That doesn't mean you can skip out next week.
I'll repeat that next week.
Yeah, there you go.
Just want to echo what Paul said. If you go back, if you remember, nobody ran for this position. And Paula stepped up
Yep,
and took this job on.
that's right.
When nobody else in this town wanted
I
to
think
do
Denny
it.
ran for mayor. Denny ran for mayor the same year that Paula got in as writing. He ran with the first term that Paula had. Denny ran as a writing for mayor, and then Paula got elected. I just wanted to clear that he did.
I don't remember that. If it, thanks for letting me know. At the time, she stood up and did the job, and did it for several more elections. So, without her, don't know where we'd have been. Thank you for that. Any of you involved?
Well, if you remember, I stepped up and did Ben's last year, so that's why I had to step up and do it.
I know Paula appointed me for half a year. She appointed Greg also. For some
And
time.
Rhonda.
Then we were
She
both
appointed
crazy
me
enough
too.
to run again.
I told everybody 2 meetings a month. All you gotta do is 2 meetings.
You weren't paying attention either.
I was asleep.
Okay, open business, the first reading of the nuisance ordinance.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Every time you're here, there's a new reading and you've got to sit through it. So this is a nuisance ordinance, new nuisance ordinance that's very, very comprehensive and all-encompassing. And I know we've ran into some issues that I'm trying to get ironed out now where we've had a lack of teeth, basically, to get some things done. But we're trying to get those teeth back into it. This is going to lay the groundwork for it. So, Section 1, public nuisances prohibited in accordance with the authority granted to West Virginia municipalities to address and remediate nuisances by West Virginia Code Sections 8 through 12, 22, and 16-3-6. The City of Piedmont hereby ordains that no person shall erect, contrive, cause, maintain, or permit to exist any public nuisance within the City of Piedmont or within the police jurisdiction of the city. Public nuisance is defined generally. A public nuisance is a thing, act, occupation, condition, or use of property which shall continue for such a length of time as to substantially annoy, injure, or endanger the comfort, health, repose, or safety of the public, or in any way render the public insecure in life or use of property, or greatly offend the public morals or decency, or unlawfully and substantially interfere with, obstruct, or tend to obstruct, or render dangerous for passage any street, alley, highway, navigable body of water, or other public way. Public nuisances affecting health and safety. The following acts, omissions, places, conditions, and things are hereby specifically declared to be public health and safety nuisances, but shall not be construed to exclude other health and safety nuisances coming from within the definition of subscription A hereof. All decayed, harmfully adulterated, or unwholesome food, drink, sold, or offered for sale to the public. Carcasses of animals, birds, or fowl not buried or otherwise disposed of in a sanitary manner within 24 hours after death. Accumulation of decayed animal or vegetable matter, trash, rubbish, roofing or rotted lumber, roofing, packing material, abandoned vehicles or machinery, scrap metal or any material in which flies, mosquitoes, disease-carrying insects, rats, or other vermin may breed or which may constitute a fire hazard. All stagnant water in which mosquitoes, flies, or other insects can multiply. Garbage which is not secured from all animals, including flies and vermin. The escape of smoke, soot, cinders, noxious acids, fumes, gases, fly ash, or industrial dust within the city limits in such quantities as to endanger the health of persons of ordinary sensibilities or to threaten or cause substantial injury to property. The pollution of any public well or cistern, stream, lake, canal, or body of water by sewage, cemetery, or industrial waste or other substances. Any use of property, substances, or things within the city emitting or causing any foul, offensive, noisome, noxious, nauseous, or disagreeable odors, effluvia, or stenches which are extremely repulsible to the physical senses of ordinary persons and or which annoy, discomfort, injure, or inconvenience the health of any appreciable number of persons within the city. Any barn, stable, yard, shed, pen, or other place where animals or fowl are kept which is not maintained in a clean condition, or any animals or fowl which, because of disease, unsanitary conditions, odor, or noise, injure or discomfort the health and well-being of residents of the cities. All abandoned wells not securely covered or secured from public use, any obstruction to water courses, drainage, ditches, or ravines. Grass, weeds, or any vegetation whatsoever not edible or planted for some useful or ornamental purpose that exceed the height of 12 inches, emits any unpleasant or noxious odor, conceals any unsanitary or rubbish deposit, or that affords a breeding place for insects, reptiles, or rodents. Failure to properly remove or dispose of yard waste, including grass clippings and weeds. Building materials are not used for immediate construction, which are not stored in an enclosed accessory or other structure. Tarping shall not constitute a storage structure for the purposes of this section, and the use of tarping for such purposes is prohibited. Upholstered furniture constructed for interior use, carpeting, mattresses, box springs, clothing, or any such fabric items stored or placed on the exterior of a structure. Structures intended for storing such items shall be constructed to be secure from the elements of rodent infestation. For any person who owns or keeps within the city any dog, cat, or other animal, purposely permitting any waste matter from that animal to collect and remain on the property of the owner or custodian or on the property of others so as to cause or create an unhealthy, unsanitary, dangerous, or offensive living condition on the property or to abutting or nearby properties of others, or create a public inconvenience or offense from failure to clean up after such pet. This section specifically authorizes the issuance of citations under this ordinance for failure to clean up after pets while out walking them in any area of Piedmont. Public nuisances offending morals and decency. We're getting there. The following acts, omissions, places, conditions, and things are hereby specifically declared to be public nuisances offending public morals and decency, but such enumeration shall not be construed to exclude other nuisances offending public morals and decency coming within the definition of subsection hereof. All disorderly houses, bawdy houses, houses of ill fame, and buildings or structures to be kept or resorted for the purpose of prostitution. All places where intoxicating liquor or fermented malt beverages are sold, possessed, stored, brewed, bottled, manufactured, rectified without a permit or license required by the laws of the state or the ordinances of the city. Any place or premises resorted to for the purpose of drinking intoxicating liquor or fermented malt beverages in violation of the laws of the state and the ordinances of the city. Any ordinance that the owner, landlord, his agents, or employees permit, condone, or foster the violation of city ordinance or state laws relating to public health, safety, peace, morals, or welfare openly, continuously, repeatedly, or intentionally in any place that the owner, landlord, his agents, or employees permit, condone, or for the creation, sale, use, or distribution of controlled substances as defined in West Virginia Code 60A-1-10I within or upon the establishment. Public nuisances affecting peace and safety. Carry it. The following acts, omissions, places, conditions, and things are hereby declared to be public nuisances affecting peace and safety, that such enumeration shall not be construed to exclude other nuisances affecting the public peace or safety coming within the provision of subscription A hereof. All unauthorized signs, signal markings, or devices which purport or may be mistaken as official traffic control devices placed or maintained upon or in view of any public highway or railway crossing. All use or display of fireworks except as provided by the laws of the state and ordinances of the city. All buildings or structures so dilapidated or out of repair as to be dangerous, unsafe, unsanitary, or otherwise unfit for human use. All wires over streets, alleys, public grounds which are strung less than 15 feet above the surface. All loud and disturbing noises or vibration of any kind. All debris or foreign matter or excess water in and all obstructions of streets, alleys, sidewalks, crosswalks, stormwater facilities, and all excavations in or under the same except as permitted by the city, or which, although made in accordance with such ordinances, are kept maintained for an unreasonable length of time after the purpose thereof has been accomplished. All open and unguarded pits, wells, excavations, or unused basements freely accessible from any public street or alley or sidewalk. All abandoned refrigerators and ice boxes from which the doors and other covers have not been removed, or which are not equipped with a device for opening from the inside by pushing with the strength of a small child. Any structure, material, or condition which constitutes a fire hazard or will impair extinguishing a fire. Any unauthorized or unlawful use of property abutting on a public street, alley, or sidewalk, or of a public street, alley, or sidewalk which causes large crowds of people together obstructing traffic and free use of the streets or sidewalk. Any cargo, shipping, waste, or storage container, provided that temporary use of such container may be authorized by the mayor and or Piedmont City Council at their sole discretion for the purpose of storage during an ongoing authorized and permitted construction process. Such authorization must be obtained and signed in writing in order to be claimed as a defense against prosecution under this section. Any nuisance described in the laws of the state. Storing, parking, or leaving abandoned, dismantled, or other such motor vehicles. No person shall park, store, leave, or permit the parking, storing, or leaving of any motor vehicle of any kind which is unlicensed, abandoned, wrecked, dismantled, inoperative, rusted, junked, or partially dismantled, whether attended or not, upon any public or private property within the city of Piedmont for a period in excess of 10 days, except when stored by a licensed business for the purpose of vehicle repair or improvement. The presence of such vehicles or parts thereof on private or public property shall be declared a public nuisance. This subsection shall not apply to any vehicle properly enclosed within a building on private property. Garbage, trash, and debris, the following acts, omissions, places, conditions, and things are hereby declared to be public nuisances, that such enumeration shall not be construed to exclude other nuisances coming within the provisions of the other provisions of the ordinance. It shall be unlawful for any person to place, throw, leave, or permit to remain any rubbish, paper, dirt, waste, leaves, grass clippings, debris, or garbage upon any street, gutter, sidewalk, alley, park, or other public ground, and it shall be the duty of each and every owner and occupant of any real property to clear any such rubbish from all adjacent streets, gutters, sidewalks, ditches, or alleys. Garbage containers shall be kept closed tightly except during the collection or deposit of garbage or refuse. The contents of all containers shall be so protected that the wind cannot blow out and scatter the same over the streets, alleys, and premises of the city. Refuse containers and garbage containers shall not be placed upon city streets, sidewalks, or any city property for pickup prior to 4 p.m. on the evening before the assigned pickup day for the particular area in the city, and such refuse container shall be removed and placed back upon private property by 6 p.m. the day of the pickup assignment. Garbage, trash, and debris, whether in containers, bags, or not, shall not be stored in vehicles, trailers, or similar facilities unless the entirety of the vehicle, trailer, or similar facility is screened or otherwise not viewable from the streets. Enforcement and abatement of public nuisances, inspection of premises, either when a complaint is made that a public nuisance has existed within the city, or when any Piedmont police or code enforcement officer has reason to suspect the existence of a nuisance. An officer from the Piedmont Police Department or the Piedmont Code Enforcement Officer shall inspect or cause to be inspected the premises and shall make a written report of his findings. Whenever practicable, the inspecting officer shall cause photographs to be made of the premises and shall file the same in the office of the city clerk. If at any time an officer of the Piedmont Police Department or Piedmont Code Enforcement Officer determines that a nuisance as defined under this ordinance exists, he or she shall give notice in writing to the residents of the property, the persons causing the nuisance, or the owner of the property describing the conditions creating the nuisance as defined in this ordinance, provided that any warning, citation, or notice of the violation is issued under this ordinance shall constitute notice of the violation. Upon the determination that a public nuisance exists in service of notice of such as described in subsection B above, the investigating officer may, at his or her sole discretion, issue a warning directing the resident to remedy the condition within the time slated in such warning, which shall not be more than 10 days, and no such residents of the property, persons causing the nuisance, or property owner shall fail to comply with the terms of such warning. Whoever violates any provisions of this article shall be fined not more than $500 for each offense, and upon summons shall be required to appear before the municipal judge of the city of Piedmont. Each day any such violation continues shall constitute a separate offense. In addition to any other remedy which may be available to the mayor and city council to correct any or all conditions referred to in this ordinance, the city clerk, council, mayor, chief of police, or the officer of code enforcement may publish or cause to be published digitally or in print a list of the properties, occupants, property owners, or any combination thereof in violation of this ordinance for which approval has not been perfected. Any person violating this ordinance shall be guilty of a misdemeanor. If the nuisance is not abated within 10 days of the date on which the notice is given to the addressee, or if the person causing the nuisance cannot be found, the mayor or police chief may cause the abatement or removal of such public nuisance. The cost of this abatement shall be assessed as a fine not to exceed time and materials cost for general abatement performed by the city of Piedmont, or the actual cost accrued by the city if performed by a third party. To the residents of the property, the persons causing the nuisance, and or the property owner. A determination by an officer of the Piedmont City Police Department or the Piedmont Code Enforcement Officer may be appealed by the owner of the property or other parties cited to the City of Piedmont Municipal Judge within 30 days of the property owner's first receipt of violation notice. If the municipal judge affirms the prior determination, the property owner may appeal the decision to the Circuit Court of Mineral County within 20 days. So to repeal prior nuisance ordinances and effective date, all existing city nuisance orders are thereby repealed. Parts of other ordinances in conflict herewith are hereby repealed. This ordinance shall take effect immediately upon publication following its adoption. This ordinance shall become effective upon passage after a second reading. The end. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions there? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the first reading.
I'll make a motion to accept the first reading.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? First reading will be accepted. Fines for ordinance violations.
Okay, so this, we found out we hit a little snag. I sent letters out to everybody with the sidewalk issues. And we only had a couple that were non-compliant, which is good, out of the list that I sent. But when we looked at the ordinance, which is 130.055, there were no fine assessments given. I looked, Cheryl looked, Robbie looked. There's no fine assessments for it. So if we go to ordinance 152.99 under the International Property Maintenance Code, we have 3 ordinances there. They include unsightly properties, presence of unsightly items, and unsightly items. It kind of seemed to be the same to me. So to me, ordinance 130.55 kind of falls in line with those 3 things. You know, jump on the sidewalk, going up sidewalks, sidewalks that have been blocked from public passage. I feel like they kind of go under the International Property Maintenance Code, and their fine schedule is as follows. Not less than $50 or more than $100 for each day the violation occurs. So if we would move 130.55 under the 152, 20, 21, and 22, then we've got a fine schedule, and that would allow Robbie to go out and issue citations to the folks that were out of compliance.
Any questions for her on that?
Is this considered an amendment to the ordinance that would have to go through several readings? Or is the protocol?
I don't think so, Greg, because it's up 130.055 is already an ordinance. And the 152.99, which is the International Property Maintenance Code, is also an ordinance.
Yeah, right.
So all we would be doing is borrowing the fee schedule from one ordinance to another.
So more or less you're updating it with
Yeah.
the ordinance. with the-
I mean, if you feel like that we need to take it to that, we can, just to cover the bases.
I mean, I have no trouble supporting it as long as it's not violating any municipal law
Oh, right, I agree. Terry,
code by just adding as long as we're not violating anything, I have no issue. I think there has to have something to put some teeth in it, so.
Yeah. You've got the abatement in there, which is 10 days. Maybe for precautionary reasons, do we want to vote on this separately, or do you want to let it alone?
I was gonna see if somebody would vote on it, if there's no questions.
I'll make a motion, we go ahead and accept the fines based on the last piece of information that Rhonda presented us. For unsightly properties, presence of unsightly items, and the fines of $50, not less than $50 or more than $100 for each day of violation.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
Have a second with the stipulation. That's the only thing I want to make sure we're not stepping
This way
outside.
we'll be covered.
Okay. All in favor? Opposed? You add the fines to the. Okay, new business, the West Virginia State Unemployment Insurance. Sharon?
Currently, the city does not pay into West Virginia State Unemployment Insurance. So that makes our federal unemployment tax 6%. In the years past, recent past, it was paid at 0.06%, which was erroneous. And we caught that when we switched over to online QuickBooks. So I'm trying to find a way to cut payroll expenses. I called West Virginia Workforce about the state unemployment insurance. We have an account. I don't know what stopped it. I don't know why they decided not to do this, but they said we would have to fill out an initial statement. Our percent would be 2.7%. My understanding, that will drop the FUTA tax back to 0.006%, with a 5.4% credit. from the federal government because we pay into the state unemployment insurance. It's gonna be cheaper, 2.7, 0.006. I believe it's after a year, the lady told me that the percentage would go down to 1.5%. That's a lot of money that comes out of FUGA at 6%. It all bunches, it all gets taken out the first half of the year, and then as the year goes, as the wages get paid, because it gets paid on everyone's first $7,000 of their wages. So, you know, this summer you've got lifeguards, and now we've got council, but you guys are exempt from it. But I'm just saying, the more employees we get, the more comes out. And then when everybody gets that $7,000 mark, it kind of ends. But it seems cheaper to go 2.7, 0.06 than it does to go 6.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's all that was.
So it's more than we was paying in air, but less than what we should have been paying through federal government. So the cheaper options go through West Virginia unemployment.
Makes sense?
Yes. Okay. I have a motion to start the unemployment process.
I'll make a motion to switch to West Virginia state unemployment insurance.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Set it up. Okay. Code enforcement officer. That would be you.
Again, you'll have to back me up on it. So, Paul had a meeting with Jared Bruce, who's the Kaiser Chief of Police, about some code enforcement. Jared does code work for Kaiser. We don't have a code enforcement officer. You know, I looked through some of the literature. Pretty much if you know the ordinances and you're legal to carry a weapon, you can be a code enforcement officer in West Virginia. So Paul had the more prudent idea, instead of trying to use one of us, to talk with Jared, and Jared has agreed to come up and be our code enforcement officer 1 day a week. So that takes away anybody coming back with the, you're picking on me, you're targeting me, so we have a complete third party up here. And I think, you know, with 1 day a week, and he's willing to do it. We definitely need him. We need a code enforcement officer, and I think Jared is wonderful. I think he'd be a perfect guy for the job.
Well, we've been trying to find a code enforcement officer. I have for a long time. We've needed it for a long time. We need somebody that will enforce our codes. Jared, like Rhonda said, would be ideal. I've been bugging Jared. I've been bugging people throughout the state of West Virginia trying to get somebody in here. Nobody would come in here. Jared finally agreed after I've met with him multiple times, and so he agreed. This nuisance ordinance is something he's very familiar with, because this is what Kaiser does. So he will bring that with him. He'll bring that experience, that expertise with him when he comes here. He has been code officer, him and Holly down at Kaiser. They've done a great job. They're getting Kaiser cleaned up. And he'll do the same thing up here to help us get Piedmont cleaned up. I'm hoping whether I'm still housing commissioner or however this is going to end up, that we can agree to let him come up here and do what he's going to do. It'll just be on a temporary basis until we get straightened out. Is that a problem, Robbie, for you, him coming up? For him coming up here?
Only that you didn't ask me first. That's the only problem I've got. You know, whenever discussed with me, just like you do everything else, you have to discuss with me.
Well, you're right, that should have been discussed with you first.
That was only because you have a daytime job and it's gonna be.
Right, I understand that, but I mean, it could have easily been discussed with me about how to go through it, you know what I mean? That's all.
excuse us for not doing that, Robbie, but as far as I'm concerned, we need a code enforcement officer.
Yep.
There's no hoops or anything they have to go through because my son was a code enforcement officer at Kaiser.
Yep.
And he came up and he was a code enforcement officer in Westernport. So I know that there is no legal requirements or anything
Yep.
to be appointed code enforcement officer.
Yep.
All he has to do is make sure he knows what the codes and what the ordinances are and goes from there. And it's long overdue in this town.
It's
Absolutely.
long overdue,
We
and
get
it
this
be
thing
temporary.
straightened up in 6 months.
Exactly.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, he'll come one day a week until we make progress, and I'm hoping that he can help us to build on the progress we've already made. We've had cleanup days up here, we've had houses torn down, we've made a lot of progress. I want to just continue that progress, and I think this will go a long way in helping us to continue to do that and clean this town up. So, not to step on nobody's toes, Robbie's, or anybody's.
But then Robbie still does it when he's working, right?
No, yeah, but that's how we came to find out, is when we got site people was notified.
Oh, that's right.
I couldn't
Yeah.
decide things to ruin my day, so I had everybody lined up and.
So now we have fines and you can do it on your days and he can do it one
Yeah,
day.
anybody can, yeah, right. Yeah,
Okay.
there's no problem there. I would recommend Jared too, or the girl that does it, because I mean, they've been doing it down at Kaiser.
Right.
And that's what I asked Sharon while she was reading that, I said, that's the exact same one Kaiser has it, because I read Kaiser.
Is there compensation involved with this?
Yes, we'll have to discuss that, yes. But he's not asking for much. He didn't give me a price, but he doesn't really want anything. But I think he deserves to have something, and it's one day a week. He's currently chief of police down there and code enforcement officer. He's going to come up here. So.
I think it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing.
I think it's a wonderful thing.
And I like that it's not somebody from town.
Right.
That makes it even better.
Exactly.
Okay,
Somebody want to make a motion?
I could say somebody gonna make a motion to accept Jared Bruce as a code enforcement officer one day over.
I'll make a motion that we accept Jared Bruce as code enforcement officer one day a week.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Opposed? All right. We'll get the specs on him, what he wants paid, put that on the agenda.
He can come up here and meet with us if that's necessary. If
Yeah.
you want him to do that, he's willing to do that.
Okay, well, maybe you can talk to him, or Robin's first meeting maybe.
You're quick with that, aren't you? I noticed that.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody else have anything to bring to the council? Robbie? I forgot to get you earlier. You got anything to report to us?
No, I was gonna let you know that, I've got the other cruiser is down there. I had my own trickle charger, so I put a trickle charger on it. It took me too many hours to get cleaned out. Like I said, beach hadn't been running, so it was, chipmunk heaven. And so I took, before I started up everything, I took the breather completely apart, cleaned all that out so it wouldn't suck anything back in the tank. And it ran fine, except that since it was set for long, it was flat, tires and something until I got almost a T on it. But, and I filled up the gas, so it's okay, and it's down there locked in the building. I was just talking to Sharon about that, the one side of that building's, well, I was in there, it's like something on it. I know the water was in there. You know,
What are we talking?
not black.
Down the salt building?
Yeah, it's on the side next to the road that goes up to the railroad. And it's really slippery. But I got back in there, locked all up, and I sent Sharon a picture where the keys are hidden, right? Didn't I? That's what I did. Anyway, that way in case Robbie or anybody has to move it, they can get it, so I'll make sure they all know about it. But other than that, they're tracking down a camping van ordinance violator that I've narrowed down now to close to get. And, other than that, well, they changed that where you talk about the street up here. Did you know they went to 6 PM?
No,
They moved it from 5 PM to 6 PM.
no, the last I heard was 5.
It's 6 PM now.
Okay, well,
Yeah,
when we
that's the way
do,
it's supposed to be until it's finished.
when we do the IVR, we'll make it till
Well, they're nice
6.
guys, because they.
Super nice.
They knew my daughter had to get my grandson, who's autistic, and take him to therapy. And they let her go up and even let her have a place to park, and not even let her, they brought her back out there, and they said they'd do whatever they could to help her do it.
Yeah, they're really nice.
They're
Well,
nice.
they commented too on how nice people had been to them
Yeah,
up there. So they said they haven't had one issue with anybody or anything.
That's great.
and they couldn't park in Chickawaw because it, all the students in Chickawaw came out of that, in the Hampshire Street, so it's all run up pretty good, so they couldn't park much up in there. Other than that, everything else is pretty good. I still have a few people that me and Sam talking, we're working on getting some of these other places squared away before, you know, run down people so we can get everything squared away.
Okay. If we have nothing else, I'll entertain that motion for adjournment.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Next meeting will be June 18th, 6 o'clock here. Meeting adjourned.